In today's video, we are going to preview Chelsea versus Liverpool, the Cup Final, which is on Sunday, Chelsea's biggest game of the season. And in today's video, we're also going to have, after the tactical analysis, we're going to have some predictions from some other Chelsea content creators, so please do stick around for that. Firstly, here's my starting 11 that I would go for. Quite similar to what we've been seeing lately. The main change being Nkunku in for Sterling. I do have a feeling Sterling will start. But for me, for the tactic that I would go for against Liverpool, trying to play in that zone 14 area, similar to how Arsenal beat Liverpool, dragging Havertz and Ødegaard into that space, I would start Nkunku. But Sterling could start, and that could see a little bit of a rejig in the front line. The other thing I would say is Colwill and Disasi, for me, have to start as that centre-back pairing, and Petrovic in goal has to stay in goal. Those three, for me, were formidable against City, and they've been formidable whenever they've played as a three. Silva looks like he may be back on the bench, but he doesn't look like he's going to be fit enough anyway to start. But even if he was, I would go with that back three. I would have Colwill and Disasi instead of Silva for this one. So let's talk about the Liverpool high press and how it might look. So we're looking here at Caicedo dropping in between the two centre-backs, which is something he's been doing lately. So the three attackers of Liverpool would be pushed up and probably on those three centre-backs of Colwill, Caicedo, who's dropping in as that half-back, and Disasi. You then have Gallagher dropping in from the 10 to complete the pivot and have two in that midfield zone, which would be Enzo and Gallagher, which means the two eights of Liverpool then have to push up with them. That then allows Gusto and Chilwell to hold their width, but also push slightly up the pitch. They can then also receive the ball in the first phase of build-up to help Chelsea get out, so they can receive it before they've gone into their attacking positions. But then also they can break into those attacking positions to hold high width and be basically the wingers of the team. Now, let's talk about what we can do against this press to get ourselves into advantageous positions. So one thing I would absolutely be focusing on, and as much as I rate him, I do rate Conor Bradley as a right-back, I would be focusing on that matchup between Jackson and Conor Bradley, and that ability for Jackson to almost post up against Conor Bradley and use his strength and his wiry sort of nature to receive the ball and then beat him on the turn. This is something that Jackson often does in the middle of the pitch as well. He comes in, drops deep, receives the ball, and he can then turn his man. But if he can do that against Bradley, who's someone he should be able to get up against and isolate when we are in possession and when we're building from the back in that first phase of possession, and he can really be that outlet to get Chelsea out and to also allow them to kickstart attacks from that left-hand side. The second thing I wanted to talk about is something that Arsenal did really, really well against this Liverpool side, which was trapping that number 6, so McAllister mostly, in there on his own, isolating him and having both of your striker and one of your other players becoming a second 10, dropping into that zone 14 to sort of box them off. So as you can see here in this image, Nkunku and Palmer are both boxing off McAllister, if this is McAllister in this case. That then means McAllister can only mark one of them. So in this case, McAllister goes over to Nkunku, as you can see here. And then in the next image, you're going to see what that would mean for one of the centre-backs having to push up, which is something, as I said, Havertz and Ødegaard did really, really well against Liverpool, and it was really effective for them. So as you can see, this now means one of the centre-backs has to step up onto Cole Palmer, and that means Nkunku can then make that run off in behind into the space that has been created by that centre-back stepping up. The other thing that could happen is the full-back comes in with Palmer, but in which case that leaves the space for Gusto to bomb into as well. So either way, it's going to leave a spare man somewhere in that attacking front line. So here's the example of this movement in the Arsenal v Liverpool game. So you can see McAllister with Havertz there, he's attached there, which means Van Dijk has now got to step up onto Ødegaard. You can also see from the yellow circle that Konate is sort of occupied with Martinelli, which is sort of taking him away from that central area, leaving even more space that Van Dijk is leaving him behind. Which leads to this scenario. So as you can see from the white box, Ødegaard has then released the ball. Van Dijk has been pressing towards Ødegaard to try and stop him. Havertz has then made the off-ball run away from McAllister. He has got into the gap left behind, and Konate's recovery position wasn't as good because he was sort of occupied with Martinelli. So he was midway between Martinelli and the centre of the pitch, which meant his recovery position was not as good to stop the attack, and this led to an Arsenal goal. Now let's talk a little bit about that defensive structure and how that compact 4-4-2 can stop this rampant Liverpool attack. So this season, Liverpool have been another team that sort of create that 3-2-4-1 or 3-2-5 position on the ball in possession. With Trent, that often means he comes into the midfield and makes sort of a pivot with McAllister, would be the 2 6s. But then in some cases with Bradley, it's been that Bradley is basically offering that right-hand side width, and whoever's playing on the right drifts into a more central role, so that while Salah has been out, has been more of a Harvey Elliott or a Diogo Jota. So similar to the structure against City, you don't want to be too aggressive because these are sort of teams that can play through you very easily if you're too aggressive. You want the 4-4-2 to be very narrow and compact. You want to force them to go out wide, as you can see, leaving those 2 wide men for Man City open. This is from the last game, an example. You've got 2 of the strikers. At any one time, one of them can press and the other one can sort of hold their position and try and shadow the ball to one side. And then when the ball does shift over to one of the sides, one of the flanks, the whole block sort of moves together. So it's more so trying to keep that 4-4-2 as a very compact block and move it from side to side together, not allowing teams to get between the lines, but instead trying to make them horseshoe around the outside and sort of stop their progression through central lines. And then much like against City, by letting Liverpool have the ball and forcing them to start playing and trying to work their way up the pitch, that will then lead them to push further forward. Someone like Bradley, who then offers the right-hand side width in this scenario, leaves his man. And this will then leave Jackson on the left. Another reason I've put Jackson on the left, isolated with that other centre-back, so Konate. So here's an example of that happening in the last game, finding that isolation with the right-back out of position, finding that right-hand side out isolation, and he can just drive his man, and it's leaving him in a 1v1. It's easier to counter-attack. So same as we did against Man City, you're looking to attack those flanks when they're pushing up and they're trying to make things happen. They're having to push more men, having to commit more people past the halfway line, and they're leaving less and less people in that rest defence zone. So you can then attack it and you can find those overloads on the break with willing runners like Nicholas Jackson. But now you've heard from me and what I think all the tactical nuances of this game could lead to, and how I think Chelsea should set up, how I think they might set up, how I think we could counter Liverpool, and the things that I think we should do. But now let's hear from a few other content creators and how they think this game will unfold.
Hi Connor, I hope you're well. I think I'm going to go with, well, you've got basically what my head says and what my sort of footballing understanding of the world is. And that would be 2 conflicting things. I think that when you look at the styles of these teams and even the recent performances of Chelsea, which have been much better, I think the style of Liverpool and how they play with the intensity that they play with going forward is a little bit too much for this Chelsea side. Although in these big moments, you might reveal some cracking players and cracking moments in that. That said, what happens in life generally is that Chelsea Football Club land on their feet. And so with the injuries that are at play and the difficult season that Chelsea have had, they will still win a trophy. That's what happens with Chelsea. So I think Chelsea will win. I think it will be 2-1 to Chelsea.
Chelsea versus Liverpool, because Pochettino has shored things up since the last time Chelsea played Liverpool and they got torn apart tactically. I think this is going to go a similar way to the last 2 cup finals Chelsea and Liverpool played against each other, I believe, where it was 0-0, went to penalties and Liverpool ended up winning. That's my prediction. It's pretty boring. It's on brand.
Yes, Connor, thanks for having me on. My prediction this Sunday, I'm only going for a W for us. We are going to live the Carabao Cup. I think since we've seen that upshift in performance, since those terrible defeats to Liverpool and Wolves, I think everything we've done that's been positive has been in preparation for this game this Sunday. After seeing that City performance with that Chelsea lion-like energy and spirit, I'm sorry bro, how can I go against my team, finally breaking this Wembley curse and hoodoo and lifting the Carabao Cup? So I'm going to be going for a 2-1 win for us, and I think we might actually win it in extra time.
I'll be dead honest. I think we're going to win. Not that we're better than them. Not that we have less injuries than them. Obviously, the mainstream media would not want you to know that. Purely because I think we're due one. We haven't won at Wembley in God knows. We've lost like 4 back-to-back finals there. 3 FA Cups and a Carabao Cup. And in the same season, lost to Liverpool twice in the final Wembley. Surely we're due one against them specifically at Wembley. And on top of that, the first trophy of the Roman Abramovich era was against Liverpool in the Carling Cup Final 2005. The first trophy of the Todd Boehly era will be the Carling Cup Final against Liverpool too. We believe in the history. We believe in the history. And we're going to be making some. And with a goal from Cole Palmer. It's his season. Cole Palmer. Oh, 2-1 as well.
Hello Connor, Josh here. Thank you so much for having me on your channel to predict this massive game against Liverpool. What am I going for? Well, I reckon it's going to be a hard-fought game. We know that we keep getting draws against Liverpool, so why not just add another one to the mix? I'm going to go 1-1 at full-time, draw. I reckon we score second, Liverpool will score in the first half. We maybe scrap it, last-minute goal to take it to extra time. Then I think it's another draw in extra time, 2-2 in extra time, and then it goes to penalties. And then, well, anything can happen in penalties, can't it? But I have a feeling that Liverpool are just going to win it. So I'm going Liverpool win on penalties. I hope it doesn't happen and I hope we get the win, but let's see what happens.
What's up everyone watching the video, it's Pies here. I'm going to give you my score prediction. I'm going for 2-1 to Chelsea. And Nkunku to score the winner off the bench is my prediction. It's going to go into extra time and Chelsea are going to win and Nkunku scoring the winner. I think it's going to be a really tight game, but hopefully the boys can pull through. So yeah, that's my prediction.
And now for my prediction. I'm going to go 1-1 in full time. I think we'll score first. I think Liverpool might get a penalty, make it 1-1 for extra time. And then I think, well, I'm going to go with my heart. I'm going to say 2-1 Chelsea in extra time. I'm going to say we win it. I'm going to say Nkunku scores the winner, does the blue balloon, and we're all happy. And we get the trophy, which we desperately need. Thank you to all the different content creators that got involved, and thank you Nick for my thumbnail. I'm going to put his Twitter on screen. Make sure to go drop him a follow, and any graphics you want, go to him. So thanks for watching, and let's hope Chelsea win.